mom, Lori, you wrote a story all about the unfortunate situation of getting swatted a couple years ago on Christmas. And they've caught the swatter, at least, or one of the two, at least at this point. But tell me about the piece. And also, hi, Mom.
Hi. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, we just have been kind of living with this for a year and a half now. But since the person was actually pled guilty, we knew his trial was coming up. We had been informed that he had been caught and was on
Dad wanted to go to the trial, by the way.
Yeah,
Dad was all like, I'm going down there. I'm getting in his face. I'm going to stare at him.
Need to do that, but he did.
Yeah.
So, yeah, now that it was done, I said, well, I think now would be a good time to just kind of write our experiences of it. So it was, kind of, it could have been scarier. Just, if you read the piece, it was like the way it happened. I actually had just left the house.
So you saw the police rolling up.
Yeah,
we haven't really told this story publicly, but
I thought they were going to the neighbor's house. I'm like, oh, what's going on with the neighbors?
Yeah.
And then he rolls the window down and he says, did you come out of that house right there? I'm like, yeah. And then he proceeded to tell me what was going on. And there had been some recent swattings of mostly conservative media recently. I can't remember the names right now, but it was, I knew that it was probably a prank. So immediately I was calm. I said, I'm pretty sure it's a prank. And, they were nervous. I mean, when the guy was writing the information down, he was shaking. And when we spoke later with some cops at the station several days or weeks later, because the detective was assigned to it, he said, yeah, we totally believed it because it was right before Christmas and, the tensions are high, expectations and all that with Christmas. He totally thought it was a real incident.
And they had called and said that there was an incident at the house, that there was an active shooter at the house.
Yeah.
And should I just
names? They had names.
Should I just say what it was?
Sure, yeah.
So they claimed that the swatters claimed that I was the active shooter and that I was shooting family members and holding my wife hostage. And they had all the names. They went after our children, and they went after. They said that I was holding my wife hostage and that I was shooting people, and that the police needed to arrive immediately. And so, to your point, that puts the police in a heightened sense of response mode because they hear an incident like that. Were they coming in with the sirens on? Were the sirens on?
I don't think they had yet, but they were like, well, who is Jack Posobiec? They had your name. And I said, well, I'm sure it's a swatting thing then, because he's not here. I can get him on the phone for you so you can talk to him.
Right. And so they couldn't find my address, so they went and found your address.
Right.
We now employ a variety of measures to protect that information, by the way, and so hopefully this never happens again. But they caught the guy.
Yeah, they caught him, and but there's still copycats. And what I would have to tell people is, if you even think you might be a target of a swatting incident, call your local police, talk to them and say, hey, if I get a call like this, or if my house does, maybe call me first or let me FaceTime or something so that it's not this full-blown guns drawn in the middle of the night, whatever kind of incident, which, people have been killed for this sort of thing.
Right. And it wastes resources. And, in situations where, you and Dad are Second Amendment supporters and exercisers, you as well as Dad, by the way.
Yeah.
And you never know what happens in the middle of the night like that. Something goes wrong. And you've been living with this now for a couple of years. Do you feel better that they've caught the guy?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Dad was so angry, just anger, And I was more like, well, these things happen, just part of the job, I guess. Or with
and this is real life.
Yeah.
This is real life.